So we now have a functioning drop zone, but let's think about what we can do styling wise to make this a bit more user friendly, because this text is not particularly friendly for our users. And what we can do is we can use Semantic UI to provide the styling for this. And we can utilize this isDragActive to discover if something's being hovered over the drop zone that we're using here. Now there's a couple of methods in here to get our input props and our root props. And you can always go and find out more information about these just by right clicking and going to the definition. And in this case it's taken us just to where we are, so I'll click on go to definition again, and this will take us to the TypeScript definition file. Now in the case of our get root props and our get input props, all of these are really doing is getting a reference to the element where we're dropping our image in. And in the case of getting objects such as this from the DOM, then they're using a ref in this case to get the access to the actual DOM, which we'll need to go and get the image from what the user's dropped into this input. But there's nothing else really going on inside there. But what we'll do is we will make use of the isDragActive for styling purposes. And what we want for our styling is we want a box with an icon inside and some text to say drop files here. So it's pretty obvious what it's for. And what we'll do is we'll just add some styles inside our component here. And I'll say const dropzone styles equals, and we'll add a border, and we'll set it to dashed 3 pixels, and we'll give it a greyish colour of EEE, and we'll also add the border colour as a separate property here and say $EEE, which means we shouldn't need this one, so I'll remove it, because this is what we're going to want to override when the drop zone is active, and we'll change it to a different colour. The border radius we'll set to 5 pixels to give the corners a bit of rounding. The padding top we'll set to 30 pixels, and this will move our icon that we're going to add down a bit. We'll add text align and set this to center, and we'll also add some height, and we'll make it 200 pixels, which is going to match the same height as the other parts of our drop zone as well. Now we also want to add some style for when the drop zone is active, so we'll say const dropzone active, and we'll set this equal to border color, and we'll set this equal to green. And we'll set the styles to the div here. So we'll use the isDragActive, and we'll say style equals, and then we'll check to see if the drag is active, and we'll add a ternary operator here, and if the drag is active, then what we want to apply here is a combination of both our dropzone styles and our dropzone active styles. And we'll apply this afterwards so that this border color overwrites this particular border color. And what we'll do to achieve that is use the spread operator. So we're going to get all of the styles inside the dropzone styles, and then we'll add a comma, and then we'll spread the dropzone active styles as well. And if the dropzone is not active, we'll add the colon, and we'll just say dropzone styles. And let's just reformat things to make sure this is a bit cleaner. And we're getting an error here. And this is a bit weird because it's telling us that the text align, the type of string is not assignable to type center. And even though we're using a string for the type of center, the way to get around this is to specify as and then center for our text align property. and like magic, the error has gone away. And what we want to do is we want to replace the content here underneath the inputs, and we'll create an icon, or we'll set an icon. So we'll bring this in from Semantic UI, and we'll give the icon a name equal to upload, and we'll give it a size equal to huge, and then we'll add a header underneath this, and we'll set the content of this equal to drop image here, and just close that off. And if we go and take a look, we should see this has now got some styling. And if we attempt to drop an image in, we should see that the border changes to green, which it does. And we can drop our image in, and great, we see that there. There's one other thing I want to discuss as well though, because inside our photo widget Dropzone, what we're doing here is we're creating an object URL from our file, and we're not cleaning this up after ourselves. So if the user clicks away from this particular page, then this is going to be remaining in their memory. And if they keep clicking away and keep going back, then if we don't do anything to clean these up after ourselves, then it's a cause of a memory leak. So what we want to do inside our photo upload widget is we want to use an effect, and the way that we're going to use an effect in this case is to clean up after ourselves. And let's do this. And this is the equivalent of what we used to use in class components, which was the component will unmount. So you can add an action to take when a component's about to unmount. And what we're going to do here with this useEffect hook is very much the equivalent. So I'm just going to add useEffect, and inside this particular expression, what we want to do to clean up is we return a function. So what we want to do here is return, and we'll create an arrow function, and what we want to do is inside our files objects, we want to say files.forEach, and we'll say file, and we'll say url.revokeObjectURL, and we'll specify the file.preview to clean up when we close this particular component. Or in fact, this isn't even after we close this component. This runs as soon as the component has painted onto our browser. So as soon as our component loads and it's rendered the content, then this is called, and it removes the object URL. And let's just go and make sure we can still drop an image in, and we haven't broken anything, and we still see the image there in our preview window, but what it's now done is it's revoked that object URL, so it's not going to remain in our memory. So far so good. What we're going to look at next is step 2, which is resizing the image, and we'll take a look at how we're going to do that next.